What's up, booktube? Welcome back. My name is Laura if you're new here, and today we're talking about some books to read for the Halloween season featuring demons and monsters. This is part 2 of my little October mini-series that I'm doing where I'm recommending a bunch of books from like the different categories of like paranormal fantasy. The first part was vampire books, so I'll leave that one linked down below if you want to go check it out. And today is all about demons and monsters and all that good stuff. I don't actually read that many like demon books, but I love them. I think they're so much fun, so I really should read more of them. But I do actually have quite a few to talk about today. Most of these I have read, but I have a few at the end that I have not read yet, but I really want to, so I will talk about those ones last. But for the meantime, let's just get right into the books, starting with one of my most recent reads and one of my favorite books of the year so far, which is Taming Demons for Beginners by Annette. This is book 1 in a series. I think there are 4 books in total, and then I think a spin-off series as well. I'm not positive, but I loved this book so much. It was so good. So this one follows a girl who is recently orphaned, and her uncle has kind of stolen her entire inheritance. So she goes to go live with him for a little while all of the legal things are being dealt with, and she's trying to get back her inheritance. And she learns that her uncle is running an illegal demon selling ring in the basement. She was already fully aware that demons exist. Her parents used to be demon hunters, so this was not some big shocking revelation to her, but she was not expecting to find one in the basement. And she was definitely not expecting to become friends with this demon. They become friends via baked goods. She keeps baking for him, and they just slowly kind of build some kind of trust, and then our story goes from there. I just loved this book so much. I read it in one day. I could not put it down. It was just so good, and I definitely recommend it. I'm desperate to get to book 2, so I'm hoping to do that very soon. But for the rest of you, definitely read book 1. I believe it's from an indie publisher as well. I'm not positive, but either way, it's a very small publisher. It's also Canadian, and like we need more Canadian books out there being talked about. So yeah, just read this book. You will not regret it. It was amazing. Next up is The Devouring Gray by Lynn Herman. This one is a very popular duology. This one takes place in a small town somewhere in America where there are these 4 founding families, and each family has a different kind of power, and they all have to work together to keep this beast called the Gray from destroying everything. Nobody really knows what the Gray is or how it got there, but basically if you go into the Gray, you will probably not come out. It will like devour you, as the title says. So this book was a lot of fun. I wasn't the biggest fan of the series. Like, I still enjoyed it enough to obviously recommend it. I think I gave both books, I think it was 3 stars each, so still really good. I would just recommend not going for the audiobook route for this one. I found the dialogue was really awkward over audio, so definitely read this physically if you are able to. But otherwise, it's just a really fun, like creepy monster story. It's very atmospheric. Like the atmosphere of this book is definitely the best part of it, with like creeping mist and like the kind of sinister feeling of being watched all the time. Like that part was so well done, and I loved it for that. The characters are also very diverse as well. There's a lot of representation in here. We have characters who are bisexual. There's an amputee main character as well, and just a whole bunch of really awesome diversity, which I love to see. So definitely recommended this one as well for a good monster story. Next up is Sawkill Girls by Legrand. I loved this book when I read it a couple years ago. It was so freaky. I'm just going to read out the Goodreads synopsis because like honestly, whoever wrote that synopsis did an amazing job. It is a work of art just all by itself, so I'm just going to read it out to you guys. Beware of the woods and the dark, dank deep. He'll follow you home and he won't let you sleep. Who are the Sawkill girls? Marion, the new girl. Awkward and plain, steady and dependable. Weighed down by tragedy and hungry for love she's sure she'll never find. Zoe, the pariah. Luckless and lonely, hurting but hiding it. Aching with grief and dreaming of vanished girls. Maybe she's broken. Or maybe everyone else is. Val, the queen bee. Gorgeous and privileged, ruthless and regal. Words like silk and eyes like knives, a heart made of secrets and a mouth full of lies. Their stories come together on the island of Sawkill Rock, where gleaming horses graze in rolling pastures and cold waves crash against black cliffs, where kids whisper the legend of an insidious monster at parties and around campfires, where girls have been disappearing for decades, stolen away by a ravenous evil no one has dared to fight, until now. That is such a good synopsis, and like really sums it up really well. So it's basically about some creepy ass monster who's been lurking around the woods of this island town for decades and stealing girls away, and now finally these 3 kids are going to fight it. This was such a wild ride. It did not go where I thought it was going to go. I loved all the plot twists in here. The characters were incredible and the relationships were awesome. Like it was just all so good. It had me like on the edge of my seat, so tense the entire time that I was reading it. It was genuinely a creepy ass book. Like so good. Next up is an adult horror novel that I shit myself reading. And that one is Ararat by Christopher Golden. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. This book terrified me. Oh my god, it was so scary. So this one is about two, I think they're like archaeologists or something like that, and they get a call that Noah's Ark has been found in some cave on like the highest peak of the mountain, Ararat, which I think is in Turkey, but they have to go like right now because they want to be the first ones to get to this. They're being told not to go because there is some huge snowstorm, and if they don't get out quick enough then they're going to get stuck there. But it's literally a race to get to this thing, and whoever gets there first has claim over it. So they're racing against like other teams to get up the mountain first. So they go anyways despite all the warnings, and they find this tomb in Noah's Ark, and they make the very stupid decision of opening it, and they find a demon inside. Like literally has horns and everything. But before they can leave, the weather takes a turn and they get stuck in this cave for at least a couple of weeks, possibly more. They have no idea when it'll be safe for them to be able to leave, but it's definitely not safe inside the cave because there is now a very ancient, very angry demon on the loose. This was such a freaky book. Oh my god. The way that the author builds tension in this was just so well done. I was a jumpy mess for weeks after reading this book. I think I read it like at least 4 years ago now, and I still think about it. I can still remember like the visceral fear that I felt while reading this book. It was genuinely the most terrifying thing that I've ever read in my life. So if you want a scary read, go for this one, but definitely look out trigger warnings first. There is a lot of like really brutal violence in this. It is gory and just like, wow, it's brutal. So if you can't handle like excessive violence, then maybe skip it, but if you're okay with that, then like absolutely pick this up. And then the last book for the ones that I have read is one that I'm actually currently reading, and that is Hide and Seeker by Daka Herman. This one is a middle grade horror novel, and honestly this is scarier than some of the like young adult and adult horror novels that I've read in my lifetime, which is weird. I'm not mad about it, but like this is a little bit freaky. I think it's because they're kids that it adds that extra layer of creep. But synopsis for this one, it's about this group of kids. One of their friends had gone missing a year ago and he's just returned, but he is not the same as he used to be. He is very violent. He is kind of spaced out all the time. He has these random outbursts and he keeps kind of chanting some like really cryptic things. And it's weird as hell, but at his like welcome home party, they decide to play a game of hide and seek. They all end up breaking some kind of rule of the game. And then the friend who had disappeared, he comes out of the house and he starts telling them that it's their turn and it's gonna get them one by one and like all these super creepy things. And he has like a full-on meltdown and the kids are like, what the fuck? And so they run away. And then the next day, one of them wakes up with a mark on their wrist and disappears. They're dealing with some kind of demon thing who steals kids via the game of hide and seek. I'm about halfway through now and I'm just loving it, and I'm listening to it over audio as well, so I have this like terrifying child just chanting creepy things in my ear. It's so good. So I would definitely recommend this one so far. And now for the ones that I have not read yet, the first one is The Ritual by Adam Nevill. I've seen the movie and like it's probably my favorite horror movie ever. I love it. I've seen it so many times. But this one is about these 4 friends who go on a hiking trip together up in like northern Sweden, and they haven't seen each other for a long time, so they don't really have anything in common anymore, and things get kind of tense. And so they decide to cut their trip short by taking a shortcut through this really ancient forest that has not been touched for a very long time. And then shit goes downhill as it does. So they end up so lost in these woods. They stumble upon this old abandoned house where they find a bunch of like bones and like old pagan ritual things and a bunch of stuff like that. Once they find the house, that is where shit gets so real, and they learn that there is some kind of ancient pagan god creeping the woods and they are going to be its next prey. So again, love the movie. I'm hoping that the book will be just as good as the movie is. This movie definitely isn't for everybody, but it's like right up my alley. Personally, I love it so much. So hopefully the book is just as good. Next up is The Luminous Dead by Caitlin Sterling. This one is a sci-fi horror, and it's about a woman who is a caver on some foreign planet, and she's being guided through this cave where there is probably some kind of terrifying monster inside. And as she's going through this cave, she starts to realize that the person who is guiding her is giving her misinformation. She's missing supplies, like things are just not right, and she can't figure out what's going on, and things get very dangerous and very terrifying very quickly. This one I've been seeing people talk about for quite a while, and it sounds amazing. I haven't read a sci-fi horror before, so this will be a new kind of experience for me, and I'm super excited for it. I've seen a bunch of booktubers who I like know and trust loving this book, so hopefully it lives up to the hype. And the last book for today is The Monsters of Elendhaven by Jennifer Giesbrecht. I'm not really sure how to say the name, I'm very sorry. But this one takes place in a town that has been ruined by plague and left to die, and it's about a man who has made these horrifying monsters, and he sends them out to go and do his evil errands. The thing is, like, the longer the monsters are alive, the more like cunning and smart they become, and they kind of make this plan to seek revenge on everybody who has ever wronged the town. This one sounds very creepy, and I'm actually planning on reading it later on this month as part of a reading challenge that I'm doing with my friend Roxanne over at Roxanne Can Read. Look out for my review for this one in my October wrap up. It sounds like it's going to be fantastic, and I can't wait to get to it. Okay, and those are all of my demon and monster books that I have to talk about today. Let me know if you've read any of these books or if you have any recommendations of your own. I would love to hear them. But in the meantime, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you're having a fantastic day wherever you are in the world, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye!